Okay, let's do this, you guys. Let's talk about what it means to do doTerra if you're crazy like me. Right now it is 9:45 at night. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about what happens for those of you who are like me. And for those of you who are not like me, how do you talk to and help people who are not like you? So if you're disciplined and structured, you're probably wondering, like, I don't even know how to talk to these people. Okay, these people are all sorts of crazy. So I'm gonna help you not only with you if you're like me, but also with the people who are on your team if they're like me, and who have either adaptability as their strength or just don't have any discipline or consistency or structure in their top 5. So ready? Buckle up and stay with me to the end, because I've got a few golden nuggets for you. I hope they're not even my golden nuggets. They're my coach's golden nuggets, because she's all sorts of amazing. So stick with me on this one, okay? So hello, everyone. Catherine says, me. Nadia says, I love you. I love you too. Catherine and I are the same, it looks like. Okay. How to do doTerra as an unstructured person. I have 8 points here for you, okay? First, let me just explain to you my strengths. My top 5 is, number 1 is woo, number 2 is communication, number 3 is activator, number 4 is adaptability, and number 5 is ideation. And so those are my top 5 strengths, and any person in the right mind looks at that adaptability, any coach looks at that adaptability and goes, what? I don't even know what to do with you. I literally tripped up my coach, okay? 'Cause as soon as she saw that adaptability was on my top strength, she's like, Donna, I have coached presidential diamonds in doTerra before. Adaptability is 34. It's their number 34. You are the first person I'm coaching with adaptability, so I'm going to learn as much from you as you're going to learn from me, and so it is. And so my adaptability, what that basically means is that I don't like structure, I don't like organization, I like new things, I love change, I jump from one thing to another. Structure makes me just want to stick a pencil in my eye. If I look at my calendar and there's too many things on it, I go, what? Like, ew, this is gross. So that's me. This is you if you're here today and you find the same thing. So let me tell you what 8 things that I have come up with to serve you in how to do this, because I'm getting this question a lot, and I thought, you know what, Donna, put some time into this. Structure some time into this. I'm going to talk about that. Number 1, here we go. And this is the one that all of you are going to be like, hey, Donna, what are you talking about? Anybody in their right mind who has adaptability as a strength needs a framework. So notice I didn't say structure. Notice I didn't say organized. They don't need an Excel spreadsheet. They just need a framework. So the training manual, the doTerra training manual, is a framework. I use that when I'm onboarding my new builders. And it's a framework I wish I had when I was going for Diamond the first time, because I just didn't have those things available to me. And I didn't have a coach, and I couldn't afford a coach and whatnot, and we didn't have anything in Canada, and so I was kind of feeling alone in a lot of ways. My upline was, I think they were just starting to have these things. A framework is needed. When I first started doTerra, there was no framework. I just went for it. We'll talk about that too, how I did that. But the framework that I'm talking about is 2 new customers a day, 2 follow-ups a day. When I started going for gold, so remember, I went silver in 3 months, and then I dropped down to elite. What was the point of silver in 3 months? Yeah, it's a nice feather in my cap, but it did nothing for my business, and it did nothing for my customers or my new builders. When I went to an elite retreat with Elise Shadavi, she had this framework, and I don't know what her top 5 is. I'd love to know, but I'm pretty sure they're very similar. Like, she's got to have adaptability. Maybe not, because she's pretty driven. But all that to say is that she had a framework, and her framework was 2 new follow-ups, a day, 2 new connections a day, 2 new follow-ups a day. Support one person on your team each day, and do 15 minutes of personal development. So that framework actually helped me, because every day I didn't have like some sort of like, Donna, you have to talk to this person and this person and that person, and this is what you got to do, and here's what you got to do, and you got to do it at 2 o'clock, and you got to do it. None of that happened, but there was a framework, and within that framework, there was so much freedom for me. So hear me on this. You have to have a framework, but don't box yourself into that framework, okay? So for instance, 2 connections a day, 2 follow-ups a day. What if I didn't do it? What if I didn't do that on Monday? Oh my gosh, my whole business is blown. No. For somebody like me, my goal, and this is, one of the things what I love about the 2-week goal, is that if you don't show up for 3 days, you can catch up if you want to, right? And so for me, for instance, my 2-week goal was to have 2 recruiting conversations. And the weekend I took off. Did I feel guilty about that? Yes. And then I realized, Donna, why are you feeling guilty about this? Because you know what you're like. And sure enough, come Tuesday, Wednesday, I end up getting all of my recruiting conversations, all of the classes I needed, and all of the one-on-ones that I needed in one day. Because that day I felt like showing up. If you, as a person like me who's a squiggle and not structured, and you have a whole 2-week goal, and one day you don't show up, that's okay. If the next day you do everything that you did in that 2-week goal, take the rest of the weeks off. I don't recommend it, because if you do that, you know what's gonna happen. You're not gonna capitalize on even more growth, right? So I talk about the goals for people. Some people who are afraid of goals. It's like, listen, do your goal. I think Tiffany Peterson talks about it. If anybody knows this, the name of it, let me know. But there's 3 types of goals. There's the goal that you're going for, and then there's the goal that, if you had a rough week, then it's just the good enough goal. Okay, so if I do this, I'll be happy. If I don't do this, then I need to look at something. But if I even just did this. So if your goal is 2 new connections a day and 2 follow-ups a day, and you only do 1 that week of each, then that's good enough. All right, we don't want to live there, but we can stay there temporarily. And then there's the other goal that's above this goal, because this goal is 2 a day and 2 new connections and 2 follow-ups a day. This goal is your blow yourself away goal. It's you're doing 4 connections a day and 4 follow-ups a day. This is the one you're headed for, but you've got this good enough and you've got this blow me away goal. Okay? And so there's all these different there's all this freedom within this place. You can even have a goal that says I'm diamond in a year, like I did, and then have no structure to get there, right? One person, the people who are disciplined in structure, they're gonna go, their mind is on the sight of diamond in a year, and they're go until. And then there's people like me who are I've got diamond in sight, have no idea how I'm going to get there. I'm going to go, I'm going to in and out and up and down. I don't know where I'm going. Sometimes I'm showing up, sometimes I'm not. But when I show up, I'm all in. When I don't show up, I'm all out. But I'm doing it all the way, and we're both hitting the same goal at the exact same time. Okay? So it's not that we're not hitting our goals as people who have adaptability and who don't have structure and wisdom, but does that make sense so far? So give me, if everybody's with me on that one. So that's number 1. Okay, you need a framework and then have freedom within that framework. Number 2, that kind of banks on number 1 is what you do as a leader. We're going to talk about this leadership thing, but I used a notebook to have my new connections, the names, and then I put it in the follow-up. As a leader, I was doing a Word document, and Tasha just said, Donna, don't do a Word document, do Google Docs, because then you can share it with them so that they can see it. And so for those of you who are like me, who have people who are disciplined, like my husband, when he was working with Tasha, if she just did a Word document and she kept it to herself, she could send it an email, but that's not as easy as a Google Doc. And so basically she just hit Google Doc, then she created new, she put their name in there, and then she put share. And that way, everything that she writes down, that person who has discipline within their top 5 can go in there like Brad and start highlighting things and say, okay, what do I need to do this week, and what can I do, and what did we talk about? Let me go over that again, and let me go over it and regurgitate it again and again so that I know what to do the next time we show up. That's him. That's not me. Okay, I haven't even looked at the Google Doc that she's done for me, but that's me, and I'm okay with that because I retain information really well. I have a bad memory, but I retain information mostly because as soon as I learn something, I come and teach you. All right. So that's part of the framework where you need to have something in your, you have to have something, like even just a blank notebook. It doesn't matter, but you can't just be, all over the place. Well, you can be, but you need something that helps you remember things, especially if you have a bad memory like me. Okay, number 3 is inspired intention, inspired action. So this is part of the surrender experiment that you can do. There's a book called the Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. It's amazing. I love it. It's changed my life. And basically what it is that you're really just, you can't surrender, you can't do inspired intention without doing prayer or meditation. Okay, so if you think you're just gonna wait till things fall on your lap without actually intentionally meditating, then you're kind of misunderstanding what it means to surrender and what it means to have inspired intention and what it means to invite the universe to you. You can't do it if you're just saying, yeah, I'm just going to invite the universe to you one day and then not actually do work. There's a lot of work involved in inspired action. It's not just sitting on your couch watching movies with popcorn and the phone rings and all of a sudden you have this builder. Can it happen like that? If it does, it's 1 in a million, you guys, because I haven't heard of anybody who has done that, who's not actually reached out to somebody, who has not actually written a post or written an invitation. You don't just somebody call you on the phone. I've not heard one story, including my own. I have a lot of miracles that happen in my life, but that's not one of them. And in addition, even if they did call and say that they wanted to do it as a business, you would lose them if you didn't have some sort of framework, like the training manual that we have, okay? Number 4, you're going to capitalize on your other strengths. So as much as adaptability may not get me to want to keep doing this over and over and over again, right? One strength of adaptability is that I can adapt to other people. So if one person leaves, I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, moving on, right? Whereas another person's like, oh, they left, I don't know what to do, right? They put all their eggs in that basket. People with adaptability, you want them on your team because nothing gets them down, okay? Especially if they have positivity as another strength. But all that to say is capitalize on your other strengths. So if you don't have discipline and consistency, you want to rely on your other strengths. So remember I talked about my top 5, and here's an example. Your other 4 strengths or your 5 strengths that have something to do with anything other than that disciplined, structured kind of strength, you want to look at them. What about those strengths are helping you get out there, right? You don't want to just focus on the lack of structure and organization, because if you do that, you're just going to sit there and go, I suck at organization and structure, so I can't do doTerra. And that's not true. Look at me. That's not my strength, and yet I'm a presidential diamond. So how did that happen? And so what I did was I worked on my other strengths. So one example as a leader in my strengths, because strengths is really more about leadership, and we're going to talk about that soon. But one thing about my other strengths is that I have communication as my strength, right? And so with my adaptability, I don't always show up on time. And most of you know that, right? As a coach, you have to be adaptable with me. This is what I have to offer. I'm great at problem solving. I can be there for you for problem solving small things and big things, but I'm not going to be there on time. will you still accept me as your coach? And you have to do that as a leader too, right? So using this like part of you that's not structured and organized, you have to say that to your team. You have to mimic this. You have to say, this is what I have to offer. Looking at your other strengths, this is what I have to offer. This is what I have to offer. These things are what I have to offer you, but I'm not gonna do it on time. Will you still accept me as your coach, right? This is what Tasha helped me say. It's like, that's perfect. It's a perfect thing to say to people and it's with everything. It doesn't even matter if you are structured. Here, I'm structured, I'm consistent, I'm whatever, but and here's what I have to offer, but I might not be the person that you need when you need a shoulder to cry on. Will you still accept me as your coach? Okay? So capitalizing on your strengths is great, but you have to tell those people that, okay? So let's capitalize on what, like as an example for me. So I'm using my communication to work around my incapabilities, I guess if you can say, because adaptability has a strength, but it all has this superpower. It's like this superpower, and then it has a kryptonite. The kryptonite is that I don't show up on time and people get frustrated with me. The kryptonite is that I say things that I'm gonna do because I'm an activator and I have ideas. So I have an idea, I act on it, but I don't follow through with it. And so people have to work with that. So I disappoint people in that way. But I can communicate that. I can use my strength of communication to say, listen, this is my strength, but here's where I'm weak. And will you still accept me as your coach? Will you still accept me as your upline? Because what I'm really good at, I'm working towards being even better at that. What I'm not good at, I'm leaving to the side and are you going to be okay with that? And I hope the answer is yes. And in the meantime, if you need somebody to help you with structure, then go find a person on your upline who is somebody that you need support in, or hire somebody, or go cross-line, or ask, you know what I'm saying? Like, just ask questions like, hey everyone, I'm consistency as a top 5, I'm disciplined as a top 5. How do you get out there and do it with this in mind? Because a lot of times we look at these strengths and we look at what we don't have instead of what we do have. And we're going to talk about that in a second. I used my communication skills. I'm an activator, so I'm really good at activating things. You've seen me activate things. I'm ideation, so I have ideas in my head and I go with it, right? And I can activate. My activation is like the polar superpower that I need, the polar opposite superpower that I need in my immature adaptability skills. Okay? So you have that too. What is that superpower that you have? My activator just says, okay, I'm going to do it. So I look at the way that Tasha explained it to me today. It was actually really brilliant, because we have this book, like there's this book called Eat That Frog, right? And so while all the disciplined people and consistent people and whatever are reading books about eating that frog, I don't even know that it's a frog I'm eating. I'm just like getting out there and eating frogs left, right, and center, and chewing on them a little bit. And I don't even see it as a frog, because if I did see it as a frog, it would be a hindrance to me, and I probably wouldn't even go towards the frog. That's me, and you need to recognize this in your leaders, you guys. I don't like even talking about the darn frog, okay? I just want the little frog to be on a tree and live its life and not bother anybody, okay? I don't want to eat it. I just want to leave it there. So people like me just need to go out there and just eat the frogs. Like, don't tell me what I'm doing. I'm just doing the action, because I have activator in my top 5. So does that make sense? I capitalize on my other strengths. I don't need discipline and consistency. I don't need those strengths. And I'm not even going to work on them, because as somebody said, Sandy brought up somebody saying it. I don't know who she was quoting, but I think it was in The Power of I Am. But it was basically like, if you have a strength, that's a 7, right? Because we all have immature traits in each of our strengths, and we have like superpowers in them. And so if we have a 7 in your activator or your adaptability or your discipline or whatnot, then you need to focus on that. and work on getting that even stronger. And guess what you'll do? You'll take your discipline or your adaptability or activator or woo or communication or whatever you have, and you will bring it up to a 9 or 10. Whereas if you take your 5 strengths and you put them aside and you're like, well, I'm weak in these areas, so I should focus on these areas, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to maybe take these strengths that are like a 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, and you might get them up to 5 or 6, and you're spending so much energy working on what you don't have to even just get them to a 6. And that's not serving you, and it's actually not serving your team. Okay, you show up better for your team when you capitalize on your strengths and you own them and you work and develop those, and you look at the superpower part of it and you look at the kryptonite part of it. All right, that's what you need to focus on. That's your job to focus on in your leadership abilities, okay, and in how they serve you in bringing customers. Number 5 is your greater why. If your why is not strong enough, we should just stop talking right now. And I've said this a few times. If your why is that you just want to help people, there are a lot more things out there that are a lot easier to help people. You will quit this if that's your only why. There's a lot of things out there that you can do that will light you up if you love helping people, right? doTerra is not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And so if your why, or you write down, I just want to help people in their health and da 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 da, beautiful, great start, but it's not enough. You need to go deeper. You need to know what is going to get you up every single day and put your feet on the floor after you get up and do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Your why has to be strong enough, which brings me to number 6. Why don't people show up over and over and over again? And one of the things that is interesting is that there's no difference between you or I, okay? So the difference between you or I going for diamond is that I show up and you might not. Or you might show up and I might not. And that will get you to diamond, and that will stop me from hitting diamond at my framework, right? Within my framework. That whether you're a presidential or a premier, it's all about showing up. And let me talk about what it means to show up. We'd have all of these conversations about strengths, but the strengths is actually, you guys, more about leadership than it is about your ability to do this as a business and succeed. Let me explain. You can talk about adaptability. You can talk about, discipline and consistency and whatnot. At the end of the day, what stops people from showing up and bringing in new customers? My adaptability doesn't bring in new customers any more than your discipline and consistency brings in more customers. It's the action that you take because of those strengths. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. It's the action you take because of those strengths that are bringing in new customers in order for you to succeed. And a lot of people who come to me, they're like, Donna, all I have is a relationship on my top 5, and I just want to support my team. I just want to be there for them. I have empathy, and I have, relator and all of these things and connectedness. And I'm like, that's great. So you can use those skills when you're out out there recruiting people, or out there serving your customers, new customers, like new connections. You can help them trust you. They will trust you because you have the ability to make them feel loved. You have the ability to make them feel adored and understood and cared for. And they will want to join your team because of it. And they will want to be a customer with you because of it. But why don't people show up? Most the reason, and this is Tasha was saying, the reason why people don't show up is because they feel insecure. They don't feel good enough, and so they quit. That's the only reason. If anybody coming into doTerra feels like they are confident, if they feel like they are they are superpowered, they've got 5 superpowers, right? And they don't even worry about their weaknesses, but they focus and hone in on the best of them, if they feel like completely secure, if they feel grounded, if they feel like the world is just open to them and they can get out there and do the thing that they need to do and nothing's going to stop them, why would they quit doTerra? They come in, they're excited about doTerra. They love doTerra. They want to help people. Why else would they quit? There's no other reason. It's because of fear. And at the end of the day, it's about your customers. It's about bringing in new customers. And if you're sitting there focusing on your strengths, but not getting out there and doing the action, then we're going to talk about your mindset. We're going to talk about your skill set. And mindset is covered in all of those insecurities and fears. What are you afraid of? Why is one person out there who's going to enroll today going to hit diamond within this next 6 months to a year to 2 years? And why does another person who's going to enroll today who tries so hard sitting there after 2 years still an executive? What's happening? It's fear. And I guarantee you, if you're not going through the skills training with them and you're not empowering them as a leader, meaning you don't have to be a great coach or a skilled coach to cheer people on. One of the best things I remember doing as I'm looking back now on my journey back is I made people feel like they could do anything. I remember just speaking into them and going, "You're amazing." And I know they felt me. I know that my belief in them helped them move forward. But I didn't stop it there. I went also to the skill set. And so they're both really equally important. Why don't people who have squiggly, right? So who like me, who have adaptability and they're all over the place, why do I succeed? And why does somebody who has discipline and consistency succeed? Because we're using our strengths. Why does somebody like me who is squiggly and has no consistency or discipline, why do they not succeed? And why does somebody who have all those discipline and consistency characteristics, the strengths, why do they not succeed? It has nothing to do with your strength in succeeding in this business. Those are just the things that you utilize. The bottom line is that at the end of the day, it's about the action. And if you're not doing the action, then stop talking about your strengths. Forget it. That's not even part of it. And we're bringing in this big framework of strengths, but most of the talk about strengths is about your leadership. A lot of it is about leadership, but we need to utilize them in order to say, how is this going to serve me to bring in new customers to my team and new builders to my team and new sharers to my team? And the reason why I believe it's important is because the things that we're talking about right now with, why don't people show up, is because it helps them see the best of themselves. And that's our job as coaches, to help people see the best of themselves. And I've got How to Be a Better Leader coming up. Okay, number 8, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is how to show up as a leader. How to show up with your strengths, how to show up with your the parts of you that are like me. And really, it's just doing the thing over and over and over again. And I'm going to do the thing over and over and over again. I'm not going to let that stop me. Is it going to get boring for people like me? Yeah, but you know what? I found something within my job that made it less boring, and it was people. There's never the same person, right? Saying the same thing over and over again. I said my same story about my son for years. I never tired of it. Why? Because of the person I was looking at telling it to. It was different every time. And so if you can stay present with your customers, with the people that are drawing towards you, then you, as somebody like me, who's a squiggle and who's all over the place and who doesn't necessarily take kindly to organization and structure, will show up every single day. How can you not when you know? How can you not when you know that there's people out there who need you? So I hope this helps you for today. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will be checking your comments and questions. And thanks for showing up, you guys. This is about you showing up here, but take this and show up out there. Because if you're not doing the action at the end of the day, you're not doing doTerra. Love you. Bye.